If you're a React developer and you're looking to really level up your skills, then you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going deep on component composition. This is an absolutely core skill that not only makes your code cleaner and way more powerful, but it's also a huge topic in technical interviews.
You've been there, right? We all have. You start building out a new feature, and before you know it, you're just wrestling with these components that are super rigid, impossible to reuse, and they're all tangled up in this messy web of props. It is a massive headache, but trust me, there is a much, much better way.
And yeah, that better way is component composition. Now, this isn't just another pattern. It's really the fundamental philosophy of React itself. Instead of doing things the old school way with inheritance, we build these flexible, amazing UIs by nesting components and passing them around just like they were any other piece of data. It's an incredibly elegant and seriously powerful solution. So why does this matter so much? Because when you master this, you start writing seriously professional code. You'll totally avoid prop drilling, which is that nightmare of passing props down through components that don't even need them. Your components suddenly become these massively reusable containers. And you get this beautiful separation of concerns in what's called inversion of control, where parent components get to decide the what and the children just handle the how. Okay, let's dive into our first pattern, which is the one you're going to see everywhere, the children prop. Seriously, think of this as the foundation for absolutely everything else we're about to cover. Now, to really get a grip on these patterns, I want you to hold a simple mental model in your head. It might sound a little silly, but from now on, I want you to think of your components as slot machines. Stick with me on this, it's going to make everything click into place. So using our new analogy, a basic component is kind of like a slot machine that just has one big default slot. And that slot? That's the children prop. Literally anything you stick between a component's opening and closing tags gets rendered right inside that one slot. And here it is. This is the single most important aha moment you need for this entire pattern. That children thing that seems to magically appear out of nowhere, it's not magic at all. It's just a prop, exactly like any other prop you'd pass to a component. That's it.
And hey, don't just take my word for it. Here's the proof. On the left, you see the familiar JSX syntax we all use every day. But on the right, that's what React is actually seeing under the hood. All that nice nesting is just what we call syntactic sugar for a props object that has a key called children. They're 100% functionally identical.
Okay, let's move on to pattern number 2 and see how we can build on this idea. We've mastered the default slot, but, sometimes one slot just isn't going to cut it. This is a classic problem, right? You're building a modal component, or maybe a card. You know you need a specific area for a header, another one for a footer, and then the main content goes in the middle. How in the world do you manage all that with just one children slot?
Well, the solution is beautifully simple, and it builds on what you already know. You just use regular props. If you need a slot for a header, you make a prop called header. Need a footer? You make a footer prop. You're essentially creating named slots. And look at our slot machine now. It's been upgraded. We still have our good old default children's slot for the main body, but now we've added 2 brand new dedicated name slots, one for our header and one for our footer. This makes our components API incredibly clear and really well structured.
All right, it is time for the final and, honestly, the most powerful pattern of them all. If children and named slots are all about structure, then compound components are all about communication. It's like giving your slots a shared brain. So what happens when all those little components in your slots need to talk to each other? Think about a tab system. The tab buttons need to know which one is currently active, and the tab panel needs to know which content it should be showing. They all have to share state and work together. And you absolutely do not want to be passing that state down manually through props. That's a recipe for disaster. The really elegant solution here is the compound component pattern. This is where you have a whole family of components that are literally designed to work together as a team. They share their state implicitly, or as I like to think of it, telepathically, using React's Context API. So how does this shared brain actually work? It's really just a simple 2-step dance. First, the main parent component, like our tabs component, creates something called a context provider, and it stuffs all the shared state into it, like which tab is active. Then, step 2, any child component that's nested inside, like a tab button, can use the use context hook to reach directly into that provider and grab whatever state it needs. No prop drilling required. It's brilliant. Now that we've got the patterns down, let's talk about how to use them like a seasoned pro. Because, look, knowing the patterns is one thing, but knowing the common pitfalls, that's what really separates the junior from the senior developers. Okay, here is a classic mistake. I guarantee you'll see this or do this at some point. You try to call .map directly on props children, right? But if there's only one child component, children isn't an array, it's an object. And boom, your app crashes. The correct, totally robust way to do this is to always use the React.children.map utility. It's built specifically to handle all these cases safely. Next up, clone element. Now, it has its uses, but relying on it to inject props into children is just super fragile. The moment a developer wraps your child component in a fragment or another component, your clone element logic completely breaks. The modern and far more stable approach for sharing state implicitly is, you guessed it, using context. And this is a huge one for performance. If you pass a brand new object or a new array to your context provider's value prop every single time it renders, you will cause every single component that uses that context to re-render, even if the data inside hasn't actually changed. The fix is a true hallmark of an experienced developer. You wrap that value object in useMemo. This ensures it only creates a new object when it absolutely has to. So to wrap it all up, this little cheat sheet gives you a really practical way to decide which pattern to use. As you can see, the basic children prop is super simple, 5 stars for simplicity, but not very flexible. On the other end, compound components give you maximum flexibility and state sharing, but yeah, they come with a bit more boilerplate code. Use this as your guide to pick the right tool for the right job. And hey, if you're ever in an interview and they ask you about this, here is your perfect one-sentence summary. This line right here proves you understand the what, the how, and most importantly, the why of component composition in React. And with that, you are now officially armed with the 3 core patterns of React composition. So the only question left is, thinking about your own projects right now, which one of those rigid, hard-to-maintain components are you going to go refactor first? Thanks for tuning in.